Okay, so I had this planned out earlier. Like, I was going really good, but then, like, in front of a camera, I'm like, messing up constantly. It's horrible. Um, but anyway, I was thinking about, this character and just what he's been through and how he copes with it. And I was like, wow, thinking about him, I can really relate to him. And I know he kind of got a lot of hate at the end of Blood of Olympus, like, OMG, like, there was a human ending. Some people really like the ending. I was kind of like, oh, it was so-so. But that's not really what I'm going to talk about. Basically, I'm just gonna start off with, like I said, Leo is a character that has been through a lot. Now, I'm not saying the other characters haven't been through a lot, but I'm focusing on Leo right now. So he's been through a lot, and for some reason, just the way he copes with it kind of just stuck with me. And basically, he does have that internal struggle where well, not internal struggle, but he does. I'm really bad at wording things. I apologize. But basically, he has this void within himself, and he sees himself as the seventh wheel. He gets told by Nemesis, a goddess, that he is the seventh wheel and that he always will be. And that's really horrible when you already have such bad self-esteem. That's the word I was looking for. I'm gonna rewind a bit. So when Leo was little, we know that, Gaia and Hera were constantly just tormenting him and stuff like that. And finally, Gaia causes him to literally, like, burn his own mom, and it's horrible. And just to live with that guilt, I mean, it's horrible. And it makes me so sad because, it's just how, Leo right now, he's just like, how do I live with myself? And he keeps going, and he keeps putting a smile on his face, like, yeah, I'm fine, and it's really, I can relate to that in a sense where, well, nothing happened to my parents, thank God, but I can relate to that because he has these problems and he doesn't talk to anybody about them, and he keeps to himself, and he just laughs and makes jokes, and he's like, yeah, whatever, and that also made me think, like, what effect that had on his character, on his actions. So we know that, okay, so I'm gonna get into a little bit of theorizing here. But we know that Leo, his mom died. He accidentally, killed her, and we know that, he's been from foster home to foster home, and he finally ends up at the wilderness school, and, and his own family basically just called him the devil. He's like, and they're like, get away from us, and they wanted nothing to do with him. And just to live like that, it creates like this huge void in your heart. And for the theorizing part, it made me think, is that why? Like, it might be just part of his character, but is that why he, is constantly chasing after girls, and is that why it makes me feel bad because, he thinks he's the seventh wheel, and then it's even worse when, in the seven, everybody is dating somebody, and then he's all alone, and it kind of, I'm gonna get a little off topic here, but it kind of makes me think, like, wow, okay, so he's like thinking, oh man, I need to get somebody too, and of course there's, Calypso appears, but, I feel like I said, I'm getting a little off topic here, but it makes me feel kind of upset because the way Rick ended the series was everybody ends up with everybody, and that kind of made me upset. I was like, well, that's not exactly realistic. It kind of really upset me. I was like, people, they don't need romance in their life to complete it. They don't need somebody to be with for the rest of their life in a romantic way. It's not a necessary thing. You know, that made me kind of upset that, you know, everybody had to end up with somebody, and that, you know, it kind of, I felt like Leo also was like looking for that somebody. And then we have Calypso appearing, and, you know, and this is where it gets a little complicated for me. A lot of people, you know, well, not a lot of people, I'm not sure. It was kind of like a half and half kind of thing where they were like, oh yeah, Calio. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that shit right. I don't really care. And some were like, no, or some people were kind of indifferent towards it. So it was kind of like all kind of mixed half and half kind of thing, whatever. I was uncomfortable with it, personally. Number one, when he first got there, the first few days, maybe like he was there for like, what, 2 weeks? A week and a half? Somewhere around that time frame, 2 weeks, let's say. So he's there for 2 weeks. Him and Calypso ignore each other for a whole week, and they just hate each other. And then the second week, she's like, okay, checking up on him, making sure he's like eating and stuff like that. And then they start, you know, building the raft and the whatever. And then she just falls in love with him, and after that, he gets obsessive with her. And he's like constantly like thinking about her, and he's working to like get her back, and so he's constantly trying to get her, and thinking about her and stuff like that. He even like Hazel even like draws her out for him and stuff like that, and he's always like looking at the picture, and we know this and stuff like that, and he's constantly working towards her. And he keeps it a secret from his friends, and he doesn't really talk about her to his friends like he did to Hazel. He talked a little bit about it with Percy, but for the most part, he kept it to himself. You know, and he was working basically, yeah, guys rising and all, but first let me focus on Calypso. And even though he was working to defeat Calypso, I feel like his mind was on the prize. It wasn't really on like defeating Gaia all that much. Like, sure, he wanted to get rid of her, but I felt like Calypso was his top priority, and it made me really uncomfortable. I was like, well, what about your friends? And, you know, yes, he does sacrifice himself in the very end. He's like, oh, I love you guys, you know. But I was like, do you really? Like, I know he loves his friends, but it feels his actions kind of like were different than his words, because he never, you know, I know it might be harder for some other people, but he never came to them for help. He never told them what was wrong. He kept so much to himself, and he, you know, he kept focusing on Calypso, and then he finally does get to Calypso, and, you know, and it's happily ever after or whatever. But personally, I feel like, this is just my own opinion, but maybe he was so focused on Calypso because he had that void right there, and he thought he could fill it up with, I don't know, romantic love or something. And that kind of made me sad. I was like, wow, that's really horrible. Maybe I'm just thinking way too deep into this. Maybe I'm like way off the end. But, you know, thinking about it, it makes me sad. And if that's the case, then his relationship with Calypso is really unhealthy, because to be in a healthy romantic relationship, they would have to be friends. They would have to trust each other. And I don't know, so far Leo isn't really proving his trust with his friends if he's not, you know, telling them what's wrong and stuff like that, and at least trying to, you know, communicate with them, or at least trying to signal to them, hey, something's wrong, you know. Because when I'm upset, I you know, I don't really like telling people I'm upset. I try to signal to them, you know, like, hey, something's wrong, can you help me out here? You know, I at least try to signal them. But Leo kept a lot of it to himself, and if that's the case, you know, it makes me sad that he would actually have a pretty bad relationship with Calypso. You know, okay, sure, it would be, I feel like that them together would be a very fleeting romance, and I don't ship it. I mean, I don't ship it for those reasons, that, you know, they barely knew each other. They barely got to know each other, you know. They talk a little bit. Oh, I'm in love with you. Like, what is this? What is this? This is no. And then, you know, and then we have all the 7, including, you know, possibly Nico, ending up with somebody. And it's like, that's not realistic. That's, no. You don't need romance to make it a happy ending. And I feel like that's how it was with the Kane Chronicles. Now, I haven't finished the Kane Chronicles, but I basically know the ending because I accidentally spoiled it for myself. But it's also there too. Like, can you maybe make an adventure where maybe if it has to be like a boy and a girl, can they not end up as romantic interests for each other? Like, I know Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard is like coming up, well, sometime the end of this year, is it, I think? But, you know, I don't want it to end in a romance. Why can't they just be best friends? Why is romance necessary to the plot? It really isn't. You can have action and friendship and it will be fine. And I try to read, I personally don't like romance books. I don't know. They're just, And when the plot is the romance, it's, you know, it's personally not my thing, and I just don't get it. And, you know, I also don't get that you need to make every character end up with somebody, and I feel like that's a bad influence. You're telling people, oh, to be happy you need to be with somebody romantically, and, you know, even though Leo was like, oh, I love you guys, it feels like he didn't trust them as family. And he didn't trust his friends as family because they were his family. And, you know, it just kind of, his focus was so on Calypso, and it just makes me so angry. And there are so many people that are like, oh, and she was so cute. And I'm like, no, think. And maybe I'm overthinking it. But I have such strong feelings about this because, you know, I personally, I used to see the world so, this was the world to me, and now it's so much bigger now, and it just, I've been exposed to so much now. And when I was little, you know, I thought romance was everything because that's what everybody was telling me, that's what all the magazines told me. And now that I'm grown up now, I actually find out that, you know, I'm aromantic. I don't care about this junk. It's not for me. You know, I don't understand what you're feeling, you know. You know, it's not like I don't actually care, but I mean, I don't care. Like, I have no nicer way of putting this. And to, you know, have all of your characters, you know, end up with somebody, or hint that they may end up with somebody, you know, that makes me kind of unhappy because, you know, it feels like you know, that we have to end up with somebody. And, yeah, but overall, I just cared after, like, this whole thought process earlier this morning. I had this thought process just this morning, and I was like, I'm making a video. But yeah, my thoughts were really scattered around, but I feel like this was so important to talk about, just because, you know, wait, do I have anything else on here? No. Oh, I said everything that I think I felt like saying. But yeah, I mean, this is a good conversation starter, huh? So that was the video for today. I'm sorry that my thoughts were everywhere. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be posting this video on Tumblr, probably. But yeah, comment if you have any other ideas, theories, opinions. That would be cool. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. I personally think maybe I thought too deeply about it. I also feel like I didn't speak enough about that because I actually thought about it better this morning. It was more thought through this morning, and now it's kind of just a few hours, you know, hours had passed since like 12 p.m., you know, and that's when I was thinking of it, and now it's like 4 hours later. And I'm like, okay, yeah, my brain went, whoop. So, you know, I actually worded it better, but I hope you guys understand my point. I'm kind of bad at wording things. But yeah, like I said, having theories, comment them below or something. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Talk to me on Tumblr. I'll link that down. And yeah, I'll see you guys later with another video, possibly, maybe, bye, I guess.